So good evening, friends. So most welcome for this webinar organized by Cygnus India. Today we are going to invite once again Father Jenith Sekar from the Diocese of Kotar, but he is working the Regional Communication Center at Santam Communication Center. He is the technical head for Mada TV. So thank you for Jenith, and the floor is yours.
So thank you, Father David, and Father Vijay, and other people from Cygnus India. So, let us plunge deeper into the subject. So, Magnifica Humanitas, as we know, it's a recent encyclical by Pope Leo XIV, and the objective is there in the title itself. Magnificent humanity. The subject is that the humankind is very magnificent in nature. It's great. The grandeur is so great. So the objective is also there in the subtitle on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence. How can we preserve this magnanimity of humankind, especially during the time of artificial intelligence? That's the main core of this encyclical. You might have heard from different people talking different concepts and interpretations of the text, but being a simple priest and from a teaching background and of course a technical background, I would like to highlight few of the points in a different way so that we can easily understand and interpret this encyclical very easily. So I am very sure, and I'm sure that you are all going to travel with me along these one maybe for 1 year, sir, one hour of this particular webinar. So before going, into the text of Magnifica Humanitas, I would like to give some interesting facts, something very relevant to this particular encyclical. The first thing is that this particular Magnifica Humanitas encyclical is signed on the same day that Rerum Novarum was signed by Pope Leo the 13. It is said 3. It is 13 in the year 1891. Similarly, after 135 years, on the same day, there was a reason and significant contextual need that the Pope Leo XIV also signed the same similar kind of a social doctrine, that is Magnifica Humanitas, and a particular day, 15th May 2026. And another interesting fact is that on that particular day, usually it will be kind of clerical, scenario wherein more spiritual, clerical Catholic people will be the participants. Whereas on the contrary to the normal procedure, an A company co-founder, you know about the Claude, and it is actually the parent company is Anthropic. So Anthropic company's co-founder Chris Ole was present at the launch. It is kind of a symbolic expression that church is not in confrontation with the tech giants, but on the contrary, it wants to dialogue with these people, wants to go along with these people. That is one of the wish of our Pope Leo XIV. And another important aspect that I would like to say is that usually the trend of Catholic Church is that whenever an encyclical is published, one of the cardinals would be delegated to publish. Whereas in this particular scene or context, Pope Leo XIV himself was, presenting this encyclical to the entire world. That was really very inspiring, and it shows how significant and important the concept of the AI and the magnificent humanity, and what kind of human beings we really are. Another fact is that it is actually from the backdrop of a blind girl who wanted to go to Barcelona. You might have seen recently, after being constructed for 144 years in Barcelona, in Spain, a big, magnanimous cathedral in the name of Holy Family was constructed. But the blind girl wanted to go in person and experience that. But because she is blind and not able to go, she was given a model of that basilica or model of that church, and she was able to touch it, and she was able to feel that in front of Pope Leo XIV himself, and that is the, please don't distract me. Yeah, so that is one of the important inspiration Pope himself has got, and therefore he brought this magnificent humanity, the encyclical. And this encyclical is composed with 42,000 words and across 5 chapters. Yeah, so who are the target people? Of course, it is very vivid and very very evident that the target audience are Catholic people in particular, but it is also for the people of goodwill in general. It's for a global audience, because everybody is somehow or other getting intertwined with the sense of artificial intelligence. What is the main focus of it? As I told you, even in the subtitle, the caption itself, the main focus and the objective of this encyclical is to safeguard the humanity of human person. To uphold the dignity of the human person is the purpose and objective of this encyclical. And three important questions that he is, posing. One is, where are we going as human persons? Where are we heading towards? When we are in front of a signal, traffic light, there'll be three lights, different color lights: the green, the red, and the yellow. And always we are rushing towards somewhere, but we do not know where really are we going. And the church, actually, this particular encyclical is kind of a red light post in front of us, saying that stop for a while, stop for a while. Where are we going? Before going, have you ever planned your destination? Before going, have you ever thought of your vehicle on which you are going? So these are few of the questions, even before getting closer to the sense of or essence of this magnificent humanity. That is very important to understand these important questions. Okay, another thing, the introduction itself, we can say, and the encyclical itself is saying that the church is always journeying through the human history, whether it's a time of war, whether it's a time of drought, whether it's a time of tragedy or happiness, whatever may be. All the time, in all nuances of human history, church is always participating in that history, and it's also journeying along with humankind. That is one of the wonderful thing that we can admire at our church, and we can be really happy and glad about. In the time of Jesus, we could see the gospel was carried out through different media platforms, especially through scroll. And in 300, when church got its own establishment as a church, and it had codex at its hand. Codex means it's a kind of handwritten books. So in the form of handwritten books, it was distributed to so many people. We call it codex. But when in 1450, Johannes Gutenberg is bringing out a great invention of that time, the printing press. It was the Bible which was printed first. And in 1800, when newspaper arrived into this world and taken to each and every household daily or weekly, it was also there. The church was in the forefront to adapt and accommodate itself in that trend itself. And in 19, when radio was invented by Marconi, church was the first institution which adapted that concept from Marconi himself and established or constructed a huge radio station in Vatican itself in 1930. And in the year 1950, when television was proliferating, when it was spreading into the world, and during the time of Vatican II, the Mass and other proceedings were live telecast in 1962. But I'm not sure all the proceedings and all the events were live telecast, but at least few of the major events and the proceedings were live telecast. Few of the footages are even still available on YouTube. If you want to clarify and see, even the time of 1962, during the time of Vatican II, and the entire proceedings were live telecast in television of that time. In 1990, when we were slowly entering into the age of digitalism and digitalization, until 2025 and 26, where we are now, the age of internet, social media, and artificial intelligence, it was always the church was there in the forefront, to guide the narratives of the technology, to guide the church, and it was always journeying through the human history, and it was always the church as a trendsetter to adapt and accommodate these modern technologies. Okay, what is the framework? How can we bring this in front? What is the framework? How I'm going to present this? So I just like to put this 42,000 words in three different categories. One is the context. The first one is the context. Context means the challenges that the church and the humankind is facing today. That is the first context that we are talking about. Maybe around 9 to 10 points we are going to talk in this particular context category. And then we are just going for the text. What are the biblical text is being given by Pope Francis himself, or what is the Catholic belief oriented images being presented in front of us, so that we can associate ourselves with this text and the images, and through which we can arrive to a conclusion. That is the application part of it. That's the third category, again, to the context. Context is not the challenges now. Context is that what we are going to pitch into this society, how we are going to apply this AI in this society, what are the principles through which we have to reshape the trends of this day, what the trends and challenges of AI which is posing in front of us. So these are the three frameworks that we are going to stick upon to understand the entirety of Magnifica Humanitas. Let us go one by one. First, the context. And the context is this. The context is this very interesting thing. In the first industrial revolution, which happened between 1760 to 1840, due to the steam engine, invention of steam engine, because of the invention of steam engine, people started moving from one place to another. People started to adapt new kinds of works, new kinds of jobs, and they were very adaptive in nature. And that revolution is called first industrial revolution, mainly due to steam engine. And the second industrial revolution happened during the time 1870 to 1914. This was the time when electricity was, found out, and which was mostly and very enormously used by vast mass, vast number of people, and because of which so many people lost their job. So many people got displaced from one to another. Urbanization started to form, and lot of changes, lot of spectrum of changes, lot of ripples of changes happened in the society, because of which Pope or the church wanted to say stop for a while. It's a red light, red light signal. That is why the encyclical Rerum Novarum, which means of new things, came, and which addressed a lot of challenges which arrived at that time. Similarly, similar kind of situation, similar kind of scenario arrived after so many years, after the third and the fourth industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution was based, on the digital, environment. From between 1969 to 2010, we talk about internet, social media, and other things. But the fourth industrial revolution is something different, which is being mediated by internet, but then it is not not stoppable within internet itself, but it extended its fingers and extended its territory even beyond our reach, which is in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of robotics, in terms of virtual reality and augmented reality, and it goes on and goes forth. And because of which so many people lost their job, so many people are gaining new jobs, so many people displace their minds, so many kind of ripples happening in and out of humankind, and this dignity is being questioned. And in this particular period of time, in this particular context, Pope, similar to Pope Leo XIII, Pope Leo XIV is also bringing an encyclical Magnifica Humanitas in 2026. So this is main context before going inside very deeper, we should understand. And few of the context I would like to say again. So what are the context and what are the challenges that we are experiencing today? So the digital revolution is changing the nature of the conflict itself. There are so many conflicts happening, but digital revolution is changing the very nature and nuances of the conflict itself. The first one is the culture of power. Earlier, the culture of power was something different, but today the culture of power itself is changing, it's evolving. The first thing is perpetuation of conflict. What is perpetuation of conflict? Wherever war happens, the leaders or the people, those who aspire for holding the superiority or supremacy of the world, always want to sustain the war. That's what happening in Ukraine. That's what happening in in Israel or in Iran or in whatever place that we see. Each and every day people fight, people kill, people bomb each other, and this perpetuation of conflict is very essential for people, those who want to uphold their supremacy, and that is the culture of this superpower. That is actually painful to say that, but this culture is today very eminent and happening. And the second challenge is that the normalization of war. After World War One and after World War Two, there are so many people, they lost their lives, they lost their properties, lost their land. A lot of people, it's a big disastrous thing happened in the history, and because of which the world leaders came together in 1945, and they said we shall form a council, that is we call United Nations organization, wherein we can come and do some dialogue instead of going for war and bloodsheds. Let us come and dialogue. But today, what happens after 50 years or after 60 years? What's happening today? The concept of war is being sanitized. The concept of war is being sanitized. The history and blood stains that happened long back is being sanitized, and war and violence is being justified. And people say it is very essential today. So the normalization of war is very much evident, and it is very much widely seen and experienced today. And the third challenge that we face today is weapons and artificial intelligence. Earlier we had weapons, of course, but it is being mediated with the artificial intelligence. Earlier we had weapon which may strike false, which may go wrong. But today, since we are having weapons with mediated artificial intelligence, we don't go wrong at all. A particular point of strike, if at all somebody is planning, and it happens. So, but then this artificial intelligence doesn't have conscience. This artificial intelligence doesn't own any personal responsibility, and this really, it's a challenge of this day. And the other challenge is the crisis of multilateralism. What is this multilateralism? Multilateralism is that, as I told you, this UNO, people coming from different parts of the world come together, they do some dialogue, they even fight with their words, but then unanimously they come to a resolution. But today, what happened? That multilateralism concept itself is being targeted. That is in crisis. Today, the concept of me first, I am the superpower. I am the friend of this particular. I am the alliance of. I am in alliance with this particular person. I am a friend of this person. He is an enemy. Us and them. So this concept is, this concept is growing in each and every part of this world, and that's the reason we see right-wing politics is growing up, booming up, and people are not happy to welcome these migrants. And so many things are happening. You belong to that place. I belong to this place. You don't touch me. I don't touch you. So there's a crisis of multilateralism itself. Another challenge is the supposed political realism. Realism is good. Realism is always essential itself. But what is the supposed political realism? The supposed political realism will glorify the belief that human is superpower. He is the supreme most, and war is inevitable part of human nature. So we cannot avoid war. This is actually a constructed realism. It is fabricated realism. It is a sweet coated realism, which is not realism at all. So it is having a kind of realism which is designed, which is tailored very beautifully, but it is not realism which upholds the inevitability of war. which is actually a challenge today. And the sixth point we can talk today, what's the challenge and the context of this day is that the technocratic paradigm and digital power. We might have heard of democracy, we might have heard of sociocracy, we might have heard of other crises, but today a different trend is emerging, that is the technocratic paradigm, technocracy. What is technocracy? Those who are owning technology, those who are building up technologies, they become private monopolies and they try to control others. They may have more, but they don't have more of what they are. They have more, they hold so many things, so many technologies, but in the mind they are not more at all. Their being itself, the essence of the being, the substance of being is not human at all. That is the word Pope uses. People have more, but without being more. The technocratic paradigm is actually a dangerous one, and the power is given in the hands of private monopolies, and those who own technology are actually in the first 10, top 10 known persons, renowned persons in the world. And the seventh one, Pope says, the seventh challenge that Pope says, that you have to all, understand this. The seventh challenge, Pope says, is the artificial intelligence itself is a challenge of our own way of living today, because it shapes our living today. The artificial intelligence itself is a challenge. Why artificial intelligence? It's a challenge. In those days, in the Stone Age and all, people used stones and other weapons to hunt animals. Of course, let us say a person holding a stone, he hunt animals with the same particular stone, and also he used the same particular stone for cooking his own food, to make his own food. So one stone to kill other, the same stone he used for cooking his own food. Okay, that is actually of those days. Stone Age people had a weapon, which means, let us say, it's a stone, and he used to kill someone, and also he used to cook his own food. But the control was in his hand. The control was in his hand. But today, similar weapon, we call it artificial intelligence, is in our hand. We can make use of artificial intelligence for so many good reasons. But we can also make use of artificial intelligence to defame someone, to put someone down, to wage a war against a civilization. But the control is not with human person. See, very beautifully Pope has said, AI systems are more cultivated than built. It's very strong statement. It is very beautiful. It is actually very beautiful itself in statement, but very hard to understand and accept the reality. It's very painful to accept this reality. AI systems are mostly cultivated, like we sow some, seeds on the field, but we do not know what kind of plant it becomes. It can become a thorny creeper. It can become a big tree. It can also become a tree laden with sweet fruits. We do not know. So he says AI systems are more cultivated than built. When we say built, the control is in the hands of human person. But when we say cultivated, the control is not in the hands of human kind. So it's a challenge of this day, because AI doesn't have any morality, AI doesn't have any spirituality, and it cannot discern itself on its own. So that's the reason why Anthropic, as I told, the parent company of Claude, calls for global AI slowdown. Go slow. They say go slow, but of course they to proliferate, they to integrate AI for all these things. But that the company itself says, go slow. AI could escape human control. AI could escape human control. Okay, the eighth challenge that we can talk today in the time of context is that responsibility, transparency, and governance of AI itself. In the time of, in terms of responsibility, we can say that today people, those who want to bring AI into reality, they don't have much time at all. They have money, of course, but they don't have much time, because everybody is racing in the track, and nobody knows who is going to win. And therefore they, without any responsibility, without taking responsibility, they design AI, They develop AI without responsibility, and they also deploy it because they also pitch it into the minds of the people and into the gadgets of the people. So in these scenarios, while during the time of designing, during the time of developing, and during the time of deploying, the concept of responsibility is not at all there. That's the reason we talk maybe later. Responsible AI. Responsible AI is a great concept that we have to think and discuss about. The second one we see here itself, in terms of transparency, we see nobody knows. I will be talking maybe in later also, because nobody knows what kind of civilization that AI is trying to do, from where these data are being mined. We do not know who is working behind this AI and who is setting out the rules for the working or the functioning of the algorithm. Nobody knows. Everything has a bias. The data itself is very bias oriented, and therefore nobody knows anything. So transparency is at stake. The third one is governance of AI. Pope calls, not in this particular encyclical, but recent 60th World Social Communication Day, Pope says oligopolistic control. Oligopolistic control means whoever is owning, or investing for an artificial intelligence, or having, a control over this, world, and they are governing the AI. And if these people are not good enough, and this AI also not going to be good enough, so that is actually a challenge. And the other important concept that Pope wanted to make us understand is the concept of transhumanism and the concept of posthumanism. What is this transhumanism? I just want to make sure that you understand it very easily. So transhumanism is that, the enhancement of human being through technologies, because I am using this laptop, let us say I'm using a mobile phone, and therefore you are able to see. So I can communicate through the integration of a technology. That is what transhumanism. Okay, I am using a mobile phone so that I can communicate it better. I am using meta eyewear so that I can do a lot of other things. So it is kind of hybridization. It is a kind of integration of technology with the human beings, and therefore human becomes transhuman. He is becoming cybernetic organism. He is becoming cybernetic organism. As we see, man cannot live alone. Therefore, God created a woman. Similarly, man in the sense human cannot stand alone. Therefore, there is a kind of integration, technological integration, to make human superpower, to make human great, to make human something, at least equivalent to God. So that the concept of transhumanism. It's a kind of integration of technology with human being. What is posthumanism? Posthumanism is not actually an integration, but people, those who believe posthumanism, also believe that humans, animals, nature, AI, technology, everything has soul. It's kind of, anthropomorphizing, making everybody human, making animal human. Oh, that dog, it's my pet. It is my sister. It's my daughter. It is my life. That's the nature. Okay, nobody should kill anything because they are, the extension of a human being. And nobody can do anything to AI because AI is very essential, and it is also a kind of a separate entity, an existing living organism, and everybody can live of their own. So that kind of concept is called posthumanism. We call anthropomorphizing, which means making everything human. AI is also a kind of human. Okay, that concept is called posthumanism. But uh, Pope Francis, the previous Pope, he says we are not talking about anthropocentric. Anthropocentrism is human is the center of all living beings. Human is the center of all creation. It is not the idea that we are posing in front. The idea that Pope Francis brings in front is situated anthropocentrism. Situated anthropocentrism will always celebrate sustainable living, always celebrates, the accommodation of all the things without exploiting anything. without ruining anything. Everything can survive, everything can go together. But then human is the center. Human's dignity is the center, without exploiting the nature, without exploiting the other things. But human is the nature. This is called situated anthropocentrism, which is actually bringing a kind of balance between human life and the nature. It's all like going together, working together, living together. So that is what Pope Leo is also proposing in this encyclical. We'll see later. Okay, now we have seen the first part. In the context part, all the challenges, all the challenges. Now we are going to the second part of the framework, that is text. So Pope Francis is giving us biblical text and Catholic belief oriented images to make us understand how can we see through this text, so that we understand the concept even much better. The first thing is the construction of the Tower of Babel. Genesis 11, 1 to 9, we see the construction of the Babel. That is one of the texts. And the second text that he is giving is rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem. That is the second text from the book of Nehemia. Okay, rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem. So what is all about this text? What these texts are talking about? What is the essential substance of this text? Let us now ponder over and analyze it. The first thing is that construction of the Tower of Babel. How can we relate this particular concept into the concept that we are talking today? See here, in the construction of Tower of Babel, what happened? People wanted to build a great city and a tower with its top in the heavens. People always wanted to be something more, we human beings, we call. But human beings, because of this primordial temptation, he wanted to always become something more. Human being cannot sustain of his own, contain of his own or her own, but he wants to become something else, and therefore we call it, it's not human being, he or she is human becoming. Okay, human becoming, he wants to have something more. Why? Because it is from the primordial temptation, the first temptation that he had with the Satan. And he says, and in that particular narration we see, man always wants to be equivalent to God. He wants to always be like similar to God, so that is the kind of temptations persons, human people have. And that's why he builds the Tower of Babel itself. It's a technocratic pride. It's a technocratic pride. Terry Eagleton, he says, it's an inflated self-belief. See, very nicely he coined the word, the inflated self-belief, and because of which even God might be envious of the tower, a tower that the man has built. And here he also says, let us make name for ourselves. So God doesn't have any role to play, and God is not the center in that particular project, and God is being isolated and alienated. Human beings are given importance, and therefore the construction of tower is not very much appreciated. It is all about homogenization over communion, and God is not happy about. This is one narration Pope Leo wants to give. And the second narration is in contrast with the narration that we have seen, that is the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem. In the book of Nehemia, we see Nehemia actually he was in exile for so many years, but after getting permission from the king of that particular country, he comes back with his supporters and he sees all this country in debris, in utter destruction, and he wants to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, but he doesn't want to do of his own, and therefore he becomes a synodal group of people. He calls out all the people, like women, priests, artisans, head of households, young people, and all of them are assigned a particular work to do, and they come together and they work together. And in this particular construction project, God was placed at the center. God was placed at the center. God had his own name, and this particular construction is very much appreciated, but then the construction of Babel was not very much appreciated, and therefore Pope Leo XIII says, avoid this Babel syndrome. What is Babel syndrome? As I told you, Babel syndrome doesn't have God in the center. Babel syndrome is focusing, humans' inflated self in forefront. The idolatry of profit, maximization of profit is kept in front, and it excludes God, as we have seen, and it sees person in the form of data and performance, like a project. Human beings as a project, human beings as a data, as we see. If at all we want to relate that with today's context, we see people see the oligopolistic mindset will see that human beings are mere data and mere project to be performed, and therefore we should avoid Babel syndrome. And what we have to choose is the way of Nehemia. The way of Nehemia has to be chosen properly, so that rebuilding today means recognizing plurality, bringing all the people together in collaboration, thinking, planning earlier, to have a vision, understanding and listening to the voice of the varieties, voice of many, building on a firm relationship with God, and building, keeping God as the cornerstone, and building whatever we want over it is actually very much welcome, and for the common good of the people with the required shared responsibilities, what Pope Leo wants us to choose. And what is the message today is, today we can ask ourselves, this message is that, which construction site are you standing in? Which construction site are you standing in? Are you standing in the construction site of Babel, or are you standing in the construction site of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem? Where are the technocratic people standing? Are they standing in the construction site of the Babel, or are they standing in the construction site of Jerusalem? Where are they standing, and where are we standing is a key message and the question that we have to ask ourselves. And another important text kind of image the Pope poses in front of us is the image of triune God, image of triune God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's a beautiful image. It's a beautiful narration. It's a beautiful, example that we have already in our mind, in our heart, and in our belief itself. Every morning we do, in the name of Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit sign, and every sacrament or every sacramental activities, wherever we go, we have this image in our body, in our mind, and in our belief, the image of triune God. Why? Because they are in a relationship, they are in self-giving, they are giving equal dignity to each other, and they are always active in nature. They are not passive at all. Our God is always active. Our God is considering one another, very equal in dignity, and they are like in love, they are self-giving. Their love is actually, it's like a flowing, okay, within that triunity, and they are also in deep relationship with one another. And we have to adapt this image and apply even in the construction of the new world with the integration of AI. So based on the text that we have seen, and based on the image of the church is being posed in front, Pope Leo is deriving or extracting 5 important principles of social doctrines. And we can say from where these doctrines are extracted. As I already told you, these doctrines, these principles are extracted from the image of triune God and the text that already we have seen, the 2 important texts, the construction of Babel and the construction of the Jerusalem wall. So from these important fractions of the text, we have extracted these principles, 5 important principles. Actually, this is the one slide that is enough to understand the concept of this particular encyclical. How important is this slide? This slide talks about 5 important principles, and this is not only the principles, but this is the scale to judge the reality. It's a scale to judge the technocratic paradigm. This is actually the scale to judge the AI integrations. This is the scale to judge our own self. This is the scale. This is the code of canon that we have to talk about. The first principle that is brought in front is that the principle of common good. It is the well-being of the whole community, which means if I am going for a tour, if I am going for a tour with few of the people of my friends, let us say, and then few of the people, like one or two friends of mine, are coming late to the spot where they are supposed to come on time, but they are late. Because of them being late, we are not able to, organize the tour as per the schedule, because of which we are not able to see many places that already we have planned for. So what is common good? Common good is everybody should have, should cooperate for the common good of the community, well-being of the community, because of which there will be an additional plus effect. What is that additional plus effect? That if somebody is on time to go for in order to go for a picnic, which means we'll be able to go to more places and see, to have that kind of experience later. So that is a plus effect. If we are sticking on to the principle of common good, it is not only that as per the plan, but also even beyond our plan, there may be some additional values, additional benefits we may be getting. That is actually the core concept of the principle of the common good. The second one is the principle of the universal destination of goods. So, how to understand this principle? A simple example is that we have natural resources here in this world, maybe food, water, air, and other things. So, this natural element is not, not this natural element doesn't belong to even a small fraction of people or even the high rank of people, but it belongs to all. The natural resources belong to everybody, the entire human family, to sustain the lives of all. Similarly, when you are talking about data, when you are talking about AI, when you talk about digital gadgets and other things, there should not be any digital divide. There should not be any AI divide. It should flow to the entire world. It should reach the destination of goods. It should reach every one of this universe. That is actually the principle of universal destination of goods. The third one is the principle of subsidiarity. Principle of subsidiarity is also actually an interesting thing. For example, we can say that I am actually a bishop of a particular diocese, let us say. I under my diocese there are so many, other under my purview. There are so many other substations and parishes, but because of my power, or because of my my scope, I should not replace the authority of the parish priest. Parish priest is there in the parish and he has to be supported by the bishop, but the power of the parish priest should not be taken and replaced by my power. Actually, that is the principle of subsidiarity. The local organization should not be replaced by higher level authorities, but rather supported. That is one important concept that we can talk about. The fourth principle of solidarity, the fourth principle is the principle of solidarity, which means synodality. Okay, synodality, people coming together, whether individually or collectively, as an institution or an organization, come together and take part in the life of community. Okay, the fifth one is the principle of social justice. As you know, justice is one, but social justice is actually to give more opportunities, equal access to opportunities, especially to the youngest and the weakest, the vulnerables. If we are having more concern for the vulnerables and the weak, then we act according to the principle of social justice. So based on these principles, now we'll come to the third framework of this entire webinar. That is again the context. What should we do to make this principle active, to make these principles alive, to make the text very integrated within the human beings, what should we do? I am going to propose 10 important points. That's all. 10 important points, not of my own, but based on the concept and concept of this particular encyclical. The first one is truth as a common good. Why we should talk about truth as a common good? Is it not common to people? Is it not for common good? No, not at all. Because we are living in this age of post-truth. We are living in the age of miscommunication. There's a difference between miscommunication, discommunication, and malinformation. Misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Information itself actually is a public good. It belongs to everybody. But information is not flowing as being expected today. Information is not reaching to the destination as being expected today. Because information itself is that anything in proper formation is information. Anything in formation is information. But nothing is in formation today. How can we believe in a pure information? The information is not becoming public good today, because information is being consumed by only a few people of this world. And in this particular scenario, in the time of post-truth, the time of misinformation, how can we make the truth as a common good, and how can we be the ambassador of truth of this age is a challenge, and we should work on it. The second one is we should work to actualize a world or arrive to a world of ecology of communication. What is this ecology of communication? As we are protecting our nature, as we are protecting our environment, we should protect the ecology of communication. Ecology of communication, because communication today is not proper. It is not properly shaped, and it is shaped by only few of the people. Because of this algorithm, because of the engineered algorithm, because of the politicized algorithm, because of the monopolized algorithm, it is making us what to think, it is making us what to dream, it is making us what to desire, and it is also making us how to understand the reality. Today, the reality is that this algorithm, this engineered algorithm, is also making us, whom to vote, whom to vote. So that is a painful thing that we are experiencing today. But on the contrary, we should work for a beautiful ecology of communication. That's a need of the hour, and that's a thing that we have to do today. As we are protecting nature, we should protect the ecology of communication. And the third one is we should have also educational alliance for the digital age. Everything has to be everything and everyone has to be coordinated properly. The families, schools, Christian communities, public institutions, and whatnot, everybody can be part of this ministry, so that we can bring a lot of changes in the minds of the students, the minds of the people in the age of digitalization. And the fourth thing that what we have to do is we should also work for the dignity. We have to work for the dignity of the work at the time of digital transition. That is a time of transition. A lot of things happening today. Many people lose their job. You see here, from Microsoft and Amazon to from Microsoft and Amazon to Meta, Cisco and Cloudflare, several major tech firms have announced layoffs. So many people are losing their jobs today. And keeping that in mind, technology should be used to make human jobs safer. Technology should not make human jobs unsafe. It should make jobs safer, easier, and more creative. Therefore, technology should upskill people. It should help them to upskill themselves. It should not make them de-skill themselves. That is how we can protect the dignity of work. And the fifth one we can talk about is actually an economy that values dignity. Usually, by after saying this, Pope Leo, the 14th says, he talks about gross domestic product. Each and every nation in this scenario, in this context, is valued based on GDP. If your GDP is high in the index, then you are considered as developing country or developed country or below developing country. But Pope Leo says that is not only the measure or the scale that you have to use for the prosperity of your country, to design the prosperity of the country, but rather you have to use other scale as well. That is human development index, genuine progress indicator, gross national happiness. It is not actually in the encyclical, but he is saying you should not concentrate more on gross domestic product alone, GDP alone, but there are other measures that you have to work on. And therefore he says you should work for real economy, which means real economy means you come and you put your hand into in the soil, and because of your hard work some rotation is happening, some evolution of economy is happening. But he also discourages to have speculation of economy, which means through stock market, wherein hard work is not happening, wherein people are not coming in big number to work. So it is all about the speculated economy, which is not real economy at all. He says, if at all you want to value the dignity of economy, you should go for real economy. And he also gives three important uh, part of rules which we have to think about in the age of AI, robotics and augmented reality. First thing is automated decision must be transparent and open to challenge. There should not be any automated decisions. There should not be any algorithmic decisions. But these algorithmic decisions should be transparent. We should know who is bringing out this decision, how people are forced to take this decision. That has to be transparent. Second one is technological benefits must be shared through public education. This is a very important point. That's the reason I have kept it here. The thing is that Pope says that if at all technological or technical giant, a technological giant is profiting more, that profit has to be used or shared for public education and skill oriented training. That is very important. You are earning a lot of money, and the money has to be spent for public education and skill oriented training. And the third point he says as a rule is that fair government policies must stop wealth from a, so there should be a government policy which should be in the forefront to dominate even the giant tech monopolies. They have to be there as a gatekeepers and say, no, you are not doing your work properly, you have to do your work properly, sincerely and ethically. So that should be the role of the fair government policies. And these are the three part rules that Pope proposes to uphold human dignity in the age of AI and robotics. And the sixth point out of 10 is that we should also work to protect human freedom against dependencies and commercialization. What is this dependency? Dependency is that actually mostly we are dependent on digital gadgets, dependent on social media, dependent on AI. So, according to Pope Leo, real freedom today is that practicing digital sobriety. Digital sobriety means digital abstainment. We are abstaining ourselves from digital uh, dependency. We have to abstain ourselves from digital integrations. We have to keep distance between. We have to keep distance from digital addiction. So that is called digital sobriety. That is the real freedom he means. Another real freedom that he is proposing to us is that protecting our freedom means setting strict laws and privacy limits in selling our data. Data is the new oil today. Everything is data. Our data is being mined without our own consent. It is not simply mined, but it is also commercialized. People make money out of our data. And therefore he says the real freedom is that we should have a strict law to protect our own privacy and our own dignity. And the seventh thing that we have to do today is that breaking the chains of new forms of slavery. Due to the advancement of AI technology and other things, today we are facing a lot of new forms of slavery. Few of the slaveries like supply chain transparency. That is very important. If at all we want to break the chains of this particular slavery, we should have that supply chain transparency. I talked about this, the black box concept. We do not know for the construction and making of this AI from where this data resources is being extracted, and we do not know how many people are working for the advancement of this AI. We do not know what are the natural resources being used for the multiplication or maximization or proliferation of this AI. We do not know anything about that. So there should be transparency in that particular field. That is one way of breaking the chains of new forms of slavery. The second one is, if at all we think about breaking the chains of new forms of slavery, we should have ethical due diligence. What is this ethical due diligence? It is actually oozing out from our own construction of our mind, which is being processed by ethical values, and because of which we'll have a systematic process of assessing the pros and cons. So don't believe whatever is there in front of your eyes, whether it comes in social media platforms, whether it is being derived by the integration of artificial intelligence. Don't believe anything all of a sudden, but go for a systematic process of assessing and analyzing, to have a critical mindset, the pros and cons of the material which is processed by artificial intelligence chatbots. So that is what we call ethical due diligence. The third way to break the chains of new forms of slavery is digital platforms should have responsibility. As I told, it is not only the responsibility in the time of designing, but the time of designing they should have responsibility. The time of developing they should have responsibility. Time of deploying they should have responsibility. Today we see a lot of new things coming up. Recently, there was a allegation against Meta, saying that Instagram was actually featuring a paid promotion, which was based on the child sexual abuse, and nobody takes responsibility for that. Like as we saw in the Genesis, book of Genesis, that did you eat this fruit? No, I am not that person. He is the one who gave that. So we just don't try to own the responsibility, don't take responsibility, but always we you know share it with others, but we ourselves don't take responsibility. But breaking the chains of new forms of slavery means taking taking responsibility for each and every digital platforms which is being constructed by these tech giants. And the eighth one is shared responsibility. It is not only the responsibility of the digital giants, but also responsibility of each and every one. We should also take responsibility, especially institutions, businesses, organization, and educational communities, especially all the citizens, to whoever using artificial intelligence or whoever using technologies, all should have shared responsibility for the well-being of well-being of humankind and upholding the nature of human dignity. And the ninth one is creating the social conditions for families and young people. That is also very important thing that we have to do in this age of AI. Especially, everybody has to be ensured that the job of each and every one has to be ensured. Each and every one should have a stable job over temporary gigs. What is this temporary gigs? Today, when we order a food, let us say, order a food, and maybe through Zomato or Swiggy, the person is there standing in front of our door. But similarly, Ola, Uber, whatever maybe, there are so many people now. Everybody is there organized through applications, mobile apps. But these people don't have an organization. They are unorganized workforce. They don't have PF. They don't have any other insurance. They don't come because people or the tech giants or maybe the owners, they try to exploit them. They are called temporary gigs. Today they work, tomorrow they go, they leave. The job is not stable at all. But we should try to create a stable social conditions for these people, and there should be work-life balance. Many people today we see people working in the ITs, especially people working in the call centers. There is no 8-hour work at all. People work even more than that. There is no leisure time. Therefore, people get into stress and depression, because of which they lose their life itself. So there should be a social conditions which would ensure stable job and stable work life learning. There should be also time and possible opportunity for assessing new kinds of learning, and they should also try to upskill themselves with various forms of training. And the last point that I would like to bring to your attention is that very important point is that civilization of love. This word was coined by Pope Paul VI during the Cold War. What is the civilization of love? Pope Leo says civilization of love is treating people as allies, as friends, not competitors. Civilization of love is turning forced connection into real solidarity. What is forced connection? I'm going to kill you, you befriend me. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you if you don't befriend me. So because of threat, because of force, enforced, people become friends. People create connections. It is not of that kind. Real solidarity has to be ensured. It has to be, made possible, and that is what we call civilization of love. Civilization of love is that love must become public and political force. The beautiful line that I enjoyed during reading this encyclical is this: love must become public, love must become political. What is this love must become public and love must become political? Which means in the lawmaking, in tax systems, in economic policies, whatever we do, technological safety or safety guidelines, to explicitly protect human dignity, defend the weak, and eliminate the poverty. So that is actually making love public and political. Making love public and political is actually protecting human dignity, defend the weak, that comes under principle of social justice, and eliminate poverty. For these things, we should have we should go for designing our laws, tax systems, and all the economic policies. So everything should be woven around, protecting human dignity, defending the weak, and eliminating the poverty. That is the beautiful statement. So civilization of love is making love public and making love political. That is very important. And the civilization of love is actually not Christian, ultimate Christian, it is an ultimate Christian alternative to culture of power. So it also proves that another one important thing: civilization of love is not going fast. Civilization of love is going slow. It is not measured by the speed of our algorithm, because it is measured by the word of Pope Francis himself. He says, time is greater than space. How can we understand this statement? It's a beautiful statement, but little difficult to understand. But if you understand this little line, and you can have vast understanding of the entire concept of AI itself. Time is greater than space. Space is actually a limited. I'm sitting inside a room. Okay, this is a space, and it works at this particular period of time. It works now. Okay, trying to control things right now. So I am constrained. I am controlled. This is all about space. But Pope Francis says time is greater than this constrained situation. Time is more powerful. That's the reason we see we should not control or contain God. God can never be contained in a space. If God is defined, He's not God at all. God cannot be confined and defined. God is beyond that. He's time, time itself. And therefore, he says time is greater than space. So patiently wait, or patiently help something grow over time. Take time. So at the end of this encyclical, what we understand is that Pope Francis, or this encyclical, is not in confrontation or against AI at all. He says, first prepare the ground, prepare the mind of the people to conceive the idea of artificial intelligence, how far it is going, how long it needs to, germinate. Work on the field first, then you develop your project. So space, the concept of space is that everything now, forcing everything within a space, that is not necessary. Patiently wait for something to grow over time, then you will have, a proposed or a prosperous life in future. So building the civilization of love is, we need to disarm words, building peace through justice, adopting the perspective of victims, cultivating a healthy realism, reviving dialogue, and multilateralism. So these are few of the ways that we can build the civilization of love. Okay, this is another conclusion. We are in the conclusion. Yeah. So context, text, and again the context have been discussed briefly and very widely, and now we are in the conclusion side. And here Pope Leo brings two important concepts. One is the word became flesh. It's an incarnational approach, incarnational approach. It is not just an incarnational approach, it is a contextualization approach. And we have to, as Jesus incarnates into this body, this flesh, this face, this voice, we should value that preciousness of this face and this voice. That is the incarnational approach and contextualization approach. This has been very much highlighted in the recent 60th World Day of Social Communication. That is preserving human face and voice. Why? Because God Himself has incarnated in this soil, in the flesh, in the face, in the voice of each and every human being. Therefore, human being is precious. His dignity has to be celebrated and protected. And the second one, very important thing, actually it comes much earlier, but I have brought in the conclusion, which is the concept of the limit. Today, illness, old age, suffering, vulnerability, everything is seen as a defect, as a limit. Humankind is very much limited, it's a defect, it is a curse, it is not welcome at all. But Pope Leo says, in this particular illness, in this particular incapability, in this particular suffering, you understand the grandeur of humankind. You understand and realize a new wisdom that is actually coming up. The new wisdom is being realized in the context of woundedness, in the context of suffering. So limit is not a defect. Limit is actually a kind of well-being, which is making you understand your own inner ability, and because of which, with the limit and with the grace of God, there are so many people in the world. Pope Francis brings a lot of names, and these names are from different parts of this country, different parts of this world. Some are from Africa, some are from Pakistan, some are from India, some are from other people. So, people from all walks of life. Lay people are there, religious are there, priests are there, so many other people are there. All these people are somehow they are weak, somehow they are vulnerable, but in their vulnerability, with the grace of God, they are able to achieve or able to realize the very sense of human dignity and very sense of godliness in their own self. That is what Pope Leo says. Don't think about it. Today, AI is talking about limit. AI is saying human beings are not complete. Human beings are having defects. Therefore, we are giving you a lot of AI tools and this and that. But Pope Leo says, no, we need not think about that. Human beings, of course, they are in their vulnerability, in their incapability, they are great and they are very grand in nature. They are very magnificent in nature. Okay, so with the Song of Hope, another important image Pope Leo used us to today is that the Song of Hope, the magnificent. It's a hope, a song of hope. He brings us a concluding point to give us all hope. Hope is this. See, in the Song of Hope, the Song of Mother Mary, she sings. In the Song of Mother Mary, we see the campus for the digital era, because it says it completely flips the world's idea of power, success, and wealth upside down. Okay, whoever is dominating will be thrashed down, will be put down. So that is a kind of hope, saying don't be fearful of seeing all the monopolies, all the tech giants, and all these people who are having power in their hand, but those people will be flipped. Okay, those people will be brought down, and that is the hope being proposed by Pope Leo, and therefore need not worry about that. Everything is going to change. Believe in Mother Mary, believe in God and believe in our own self, because we have the image and likeness of God. Therefore, we have to celebrate our human dignity. Not only celebrating our human dignity, but also we have to protect and preserve the same human dignity, because human dignity is magnificent, it's beautiful, and it is so good. So thank you very much.